Good morning, everyone, and good evening, Shravan sir. My name is Ankati Dhanush, and I am pursuing BTech second year Chemical Engineering in Usmania University College of Technology. I warmly welcome our today's top speakers, Ravi Chaitanya sir and Karthik Kumar sir. It's my pleasure to be the moderator for today's top session. Let us start this session with invocation by Sandhya.
This is who we are. We are a team, talented, energetic, astonishing mindsets. We can do anything and everything. We talk, we care, we respect each other. We see beauty in everyone and everything. We are connected by hearts and driven by values. We celebrate each other. We provide value to others. We take ownership in everything we do. We have freedom to make mistakes. We learn as we go. We are mad to make a difference. We love disruptive ideas. We make impossible things possible. We are strong to question the creation. We believe in dreaming big. If we do not dare to dreaming, are we really living? Why be ordinary when we can be extraordinary? This is who we are by Shivanik Shirsagar.
Thank you, Sandhya. It's a powerful invocation in your sweet voice. Now, let us hear the gratitude story from Nivedita.
Thank you, Dhanishanna. So I was writing gratitude cards for my 10th batchmates, and I wrote a card for my best friend for whatever he did during my 10th days. I tried to mention everything I was grateful for he did for me while we were in 10th class, and I was surprised as soon he got the card. He called me. I was surprised because we didn't talk after 10th. We were busy with our life and goals. We had little conversations like how was his studies through chats, but this time it was totally different. Until I realized what's happening, I was laughing and was smiling from the heart. We were just lost in our worlds. We had an hour passed, but our conversation was not getting end. I had to end it forcefully as it was late and he was having exams the next day. I never thought to thank him and normalize our bond during my 10th days. Now I realized showing gratitude is never small. I used to thank and give compliment as gratitude after this. I understood gratitude is never about thanking and giving compliment. It's all about what comes from the heart. This moment changed my total view towards gratitude. I started showing my gratitude this time, what my heart says, not a compliment or a thank you. This is the story which was written by Praneeth. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pranit, and thank you so much, Nivedita. That's an inspiring story how gratitude will drive our life and how it is important in our life. Now, let me take pleasure in introducing our top speakers. Ravi Chaitanya sir. Ravi Chaitanya sir completed his BTech in University College of Engineering at Usmania University and MTech in Indian Institute of Technology at Banaras Hindu University and PhD in Aerospace Engineering Department at Indian Institute of Science. SAR has a lot of research experience in artificial intelligence. SAR is a data scientist at Institute of High Performing Computing. SAR is an assistant professor at International Institute for Aerospace Engineering and Management, Jain University, and SAR is also a mentor. SAR was awarded with City of Love Award in Singapore 2020 for Dynamic Soft Packet for Airflow Control. Karthik Kumar sir. Karthik Kumar sir completed his BTech ECE at JNTU Hyderabad and MTech Electrical Engineering at IIT Gandhinagar. Sar has done many projects like novel synthesis, brain tumor classification from MRI images, polysegmentation with GANS, NLP contribution, graph forgery, detection in JPEG images, and many more. Sar has done internship and also a teaching assistant. Sar is one of the top 10 members who passed engineering in first class with distinction from ECE department of JNTU Hyderabad. Yes, we all know that artificial intelligence is slowly becoming the part of our daily lives. Powerful developments are creating the smart computer systems. Machine learning is the modern innovation that has helped man to enhance not only industrial and professional process but also advancing in everyday living. Both our speakers contributed a lot in the artificial intelligence. We feel grateful to be part of this session. This will be a completely interactive session with our top speakers, but let us make it informative and start with our questions. First of all, I thank Ravi Chaitanya sir and Karthik Kumar sir for coming forward to collaborate with us. And now, let me ask them and let me know the thoughts how they connected with our team and how they what is the motto behind and what did they think when they heard about us and how they connected with Shravan sir and what the journey in connecting with us. Now let us hear from them.
Oh, Dhanush, thanks Dhanush and co. See, it was a wonderful initiative by Shravan. I was in touch with Shravan for last, I suppose, 2 to 3 years. For working towards a better society kind of thing. So in that process, we worked together I was in touch in 2019, I suppose, with Shravan. We were working for a development of a village. We worked together wholeheartedly for the development of the village. In that we came to know very well about each other. And after that, I became very busy in my personal as well as professional life. Then after again 1 year, I came to know about Top eCell. It was very, I felt very overwhelmed and very happy to see all of you. I'm very happy to see all of you. And yeah, I think we'll take forward from here. We'll work together. It's like we work together. I'm not saying that I will tell you something. We work together. Let's work together. Yes. Karthik, you want to say something?
I come to know about Topcell by my uncle, and I spoke with Shravan sir as well, and I saw your last PPT presentation. So it is very interesting, and I feel like the ideas you have and the motives you have, it is like aligning to. It is like the like-minded people come together and work for the betterment. Yeah, these all whatever you I heard about your dream, towards you are establishing like the 100 crores company, and these all ideas in different sectors. These are very inspiring, and yeah, actually we nothing but we can work together. In the artificial intelligence. It is like through experience you will know everything. If we collaborate and work, we can share our experience and thoughts, and we can gain knowledge, and yeah, we can rock any ideas we have. Yes.
Yes, sir. That's so nice to hear from both of you, sir. And now, uh, let us start with some of our views and uh, let me know or let our team know how what are the thoughts that you share about artificial intelligence and machine learning, that how our team and we can proceed in the further and how it can pave the way for fulfilling our goals in this future world.
Yeah, Dhanush, what I will do is, hello Dhanush, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can hear you.
I will give a small motivational inspiration for you guys. Maybe 8 to 10 slides. It will not. It will take around 20 minutes, I suppose. Maybe in the interest of time, shall I go ahead with that 10 minutes? 10 slide presentation.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
yeah. After that, Karthik will give his overview of what projects he wants to. What projects he want to do with you guys. And after that, we can have an interaction session, full interaction session. And in my presentation, let's it be interaction. Any doubts, any questions, or any suggestions, you can just shoot at me. To just start with, actually, I am using, presently I'm working as artificial intelligence lead in Vulcan AI in Singapore. Before that, I was working in Singapore University of Technology and Design as well as National University of Singapore. So I'm using that NUS template. To start with, this universe is guided by certain laws. If you see, for example, what is a popular laws we know? Can anybody tell? We are trying to understand these laws, and based on understanding of these laws, we try to improve our lives by applying these laws to an application. Like car, the same thing. Whatever Newton's laws is available in nature, we apply the same laws to make a car, for example. So car is, I mean, whatever happens in car is nothing but basic Newton's laws only. Nothing else, nothing more than Newton's laws happens in car. So now, so what happens, whatever the physics we see, suppose for example, we sit in a room, there is a fan, and because of the fan rotates, we see the wind blowing towards us, and we feel comfortable. So all this can be represented by a governing equations. To start with, I mean, starting from the flow in a room to the, I mean, what you say to the, in the sun, we see, no, in the sun, we see there is lot of thermal reactions happening, thermal fluid reactions happening. Are we aware of this point that sun is nothing but a, I mean, lot of, what is sun basically? It's a nuclear. Can anybody? Sun is a combination of nuclear fusion and nuclear fission. This point, aware, no? We are aware. Are we aware? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. So because of this, there will be a lot of thermal reactions, electromagnetic interactions will be happening. All this, right from the flow inside a room to the whatever the physics happening in the sun, can be represented in form of equations, governing equations. We can start with algebraic equations like y is equal to mx, which everybody knows, which is a linear equation. And to make it complex, if y square is equal to x cube, it will be a non-linear equation. I want all of you, can anybody say what is the difference between linear equation and non-linear equation?
It depends on order, sir.
Yes, of course.
Yes,
True. Yeah, please go ahead. Anything else?
If the order is one, it is linear equation.
Okay. I'm saying need not be. Order is one, need not be, it is a linear equation. But generally, order one, it's a linear equation. So the basic core, just after this, after our discussion, when you go to your, whenever you go to your college or this thing, just spend some time. Hello.
Yes, sir. I think dimensions, view of dimension 1D, 2D, and it may change accordingly. Linear, non-linear.
Okay. Yeah. There is another basic condition which it's like it has to follow f of a plus b is equal to f of a plus f of b. One condition, if it satisfies, if any algebraic equation satisfies f of plus b is equal to f of a plus f of b, then it is a linear equation. I suggest you, once you go to your, finish this talk, you spend some time to understand what is a linear equation and non-linear equation conditions for. You will appreciate. Suppose just now what I told, f of a plus b is equal to f of a plus f of b satisfy for y is equal to mx, but doesn't satisfy for y square is equal to x cube. That is why it is called non-linear. Yeah. Like that, any physics can be represented in terms of these algebraic equations, as well as if it is little bit more complex, like suppose if it is simple one, like Newton's laws, F is equal to ma, it is a linear equation, y is equal to mx. F is equal to ma is nothing but a linear equation. But if we want to model the flow is generally represented by this partial differential equation, which is highly nonlinear, which is very difficult to solve. So what I'm trying to say is that the physics is represented in terms of algebraic equations as well as partial differential equations. And what we do to solve these complex equations, just to start with, slope, everybody knows that it is dy by dx, slope. So what is dy by dx? Just if you go to our 10th class or 9th class basics, dy by dx is defined as, it's a differential of y with respect to differential of x. So it is nothing but limit delta x tends to 0, delta y by delta x. So in this, if for example, if we take P and Q, we know what is delta y. What is delta y for this given 2 points P and Q? Anybody?
3.
Delta y is 3. Very good. Delta x is
1.
1. Yeah. So now I can find the slope by using numbers. I need not, I mean, you got no, I need not have a solution for differential equation, analytical solution. So I can go for a, I can numerically find the slope given a, at this point. So to calculate accurate, to have a accurate slope, what we need to do, we need to, if delta x is large, the slope is accurate or not? Is the slope accurate if the delta x is large? Is the delta x has to be large or it has to be low for the slope to be accurate?
Low, sir.
Very good, very good. So as lower the delta x, we get the, the slope value more accurate. So everything, whatever the governing equations, what we see here, we can solve numerically. So like whatever these equations, similar to the slope discretization, we can discretize all these equations like this in terms of, like the slope, what we have discretized, we can discretize in terms of time and space, and we solve. I will just, how we solve, it's a very complicated thing, which you will eventually learn over your engineering one. But I want to show you what when we solve this Navier-Stokes equation. For example, what we are seeing on the left is risers in the ocean. The seabed, whatever the petrol we run, it can also be extracted from the ocean bed. So ocean bed, the petrol is extracted from the ocean bed to the sea surface by using these risers. You got no? This riser, the petrol is pumped through this circular risers. So what happens is that these risers are subjected to ocean waves. So when the ocean waves and sea current interact with these risers, they shed vortices. The flow will be in the form of what we see in this animation video we are seeing. The flow will become vortices. So what happens if these vortices, they shed alternately? We can see, are the vortices shedding alternately? So if the vortices shed alternately, what happens? They generate oscillating forces. And if the force is oscillating, it has a frequency in it. And if the force frequency matches the natural frequency of the riser, what happens?
It oscillates even more, like 2 times.
Yeah, there is a phenomenon called resonance. If you remember when we studied 10th class, resonance is the phenomenon where the forcing frequency matches with the natural frequency of the system. So it oscillates larger and eventually breaks down. So what we, so now by using the Navier-Stokes equation, I can simulate the forces acting on the cylinder by simulating the flow around the cylinder. Kind of this riser. So you can understand, no? This is a 2-dimensional view. If I cut this riser in this particular AA, I see a circular cylinder. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So now, for you got no, to complicate the things. Now, the same riser, if there are 2 risers in tandem, the flow from the upstream, suppose this is the upstream, the flow from the riser will interact with the downstream cylindrical riser. So the vibrations, all those will be very complicated. So by doing this flow analysis, we can come up with a solution. By putting a strakes, we can suppress that, vortex shedding, and eventually suppress the force acting on the cylinder. So there is no vibrations. If you can see, with strakes on the cylinder, there is no suppression. There is no vibrations. Whereas this plain circular riser, there are a lot of vibrations. So we can come up with these innovative solutions if we understand the problem from the root level. So now another motivation for you to understand the physics. Now, if you see stingrays, I will just show the video. This is the video, and this is the video. You got no? We can we can inspire from this natural life to develop robots. For example, this stingray is inspired. This is underwater robot, made of soft material, inspired from this aquatic animal stingray. We can develop underwater vehicles. So to understand this one, we need to simulate the flow around the stingray. Yeah. Now, if you can see, this is the one, my recent paper published in Physics of Fluid. If you can see here, I have simulated the stingray, whatever it flaps on a circular platform, and I have simulated the flow around the circular platform, and understood how the forces has developed, how the flow around the platform looks like. All these things we can understand. So now, what I want to inspire, what I want to say is that, we can understand all this. Suppose if we see this particular this thing, what is there is a change, no? The flow changes with time and space. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Even if you see this particular image, the flow is changing with space and time. Yeah. Now coming to this particular universe, what we are living in, is basic character of this particular universe is change. For example, just take ourselves. When we are born, we are small child. We are now grown up, and after some time, we become old, and we are going to die. So there is a change both in space as well. There is a change in space, means physically we are changing, as well as if you see our planetary system, they change, they move, means there is a change in location. Every minute, every second there is changing. In our body also, every second there is a lot of reactions happens, we change. Whatever we see now, the next second we are not the same, because there is a the atom structure changes in our body, the molecular structure changes, everything is changing. And I want to just think, I'm giving a statement now. If there is no change in space, there is no time. You guys think, it is not to be, I'm giving a statement, but you also think and try to understand it. If there is no change in space, there is no time. The time is a consequence of change in space. And whatever the scientific process, what we are doing, we are trying to understand this change. Whatever laws, Newton's laws, Kepler laws, gravitational law, everything is this change. We are trying to find what is the change happening there, and we try to record it. That is what is scientific experiment. And I will close my, I want to give this famous Heisenberg uncertainty principle, which says that, you guys read, but which says the basic essence of this Heisenberg uncertainty principle is that, in order to, suppose for example, the electron, whatever the microscope we have, the highest microscope, we can't detect the electron. It only detects electron in the energy form, and it only tells the probability where it is, but it can't exactly tell where the electron is. Why? Because whatever the instruments we have, we can't, they are grosser, our electron is very subtle. So to understand electron, to exactly locate electron or to find the characteristics of electron, we should have an instrument which is subtler than electron. For example, we have senses. In our senses, whatever senses we have by touch or by sight or by smell, we can't sense electron. Am I right? Can we sense electron? Can we feel electron?
No.
No,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah, because all the sensory organs are gross. Whatever we have is gross. So we need to go to a subtler. What I'm trying to say is that we need to, any experiment we do, we need to be subtler. We need to be calm from within. then only we can see the experiment and observe the experiment without any bias. So and then only we can get the we can understand the experiment very well. We can understand the what is a problem. Then we can come up with the solution. Any things we can discuss. This is all we can always discuss. Always I encourage discuss. Not that I am only the right person. It's even I am learning it every.
Yes, sir. So we have great topics like in this regard, Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. Like not only this, we have number of topics to discuss and solve real problems with AI. So there is interesting story behind this, like Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. So people say anything is possible, making it possible. So like our ultimate aim is should be proving the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. So like it's an interesting story that people usually talk like proving uncertain. So Heisenberg says it is not possible to see velocity, like find the position of electron and velocity simultaneously. So it's let us prove with that. I think with AI we can do that. It's
No,
an interesting talk. Generally we do in our conversation.
very nice, very nice, very nice. So the key is in with AI. That's what now very good comment. What is the name? Who told just now?
Rohit.
Rohit, very nice, very nice. So the key is we need to be. Whatever the system we make, it need to be subtle. It need to be sensitive to this world, so that we understand whatever the problem we undertake, right from the electron to the human problems, which includes the people. You got no inclusiveness. So we need to. We need to use this AI to solve the problems of the society. So that can be done if we become more subtle, more empathizing. I think that is the key for your top talks. If I rightly understand, we try to empathize with all the surroundings around. Then we can come up with the right solution. Yes. Very nice, very nice. Any comments or any questions or any discussion shall we make here? Anybody?
Yeah. Team, you can raise your hands to ask your questions. And the one more thing I have found, sir, like
Yes.
all things we have related with respect to time, but you related the time with respect to the change. That's some other how we can.
Yeah. Very nice, very nice. Yeah. Yes, Triveni, please go ahead.
Sir, where did you use AI here, sir?
Yeah.
Is it similar to, computational fluid dynamics? I did not understand it completely. That's why.
I'll come. So now, good, very good question. So it's like everything is numbers now. What AI does is now any physics, everything is numbers. Even an image, whatever the image now, video, whatever the video we are talking to this particular Google Meet, it happens through numbers. It doesn't. It everything. So whatever CFD we have told, no, in the first few of the slides, we told that slope, and we have gone to the dy by dx. From there, we have gone to the delta y by dx, and then we told 4 minus 3 by. So at the end, it's number, whatever slope. Similarly, whatever we are using this Google Meet, the streaming happening, everything is through numbers. An image is a number. So everything happens this number. So now to understand the relation between these numbers, so whatever presentation I have given, it's the motivation to appreciate the science. Karthik will tell you how to deal with these numbers, how to play with. He will majorly tell about the projects, what we can do in the coming 4-5 months. So how to play with this number is the AI part. So we need to understand the relation between different variables, like for example, suppose my heart rate is there, my pulse. So if I can find my pulse, I should be able to tell what my health status is. You got no? The AI application. So what is pulse? Pulse is nothing but a number. Do you agree with me?
Yes, sir.
So pulse has amplitude, frequency. So if we can try to train what are the definite characteristics of this pulse, which is numbers, basically frequency and amplitude, we can correlate to what disease a person is undergoing. So that is what AI comes into picture. Now, what I'm trying to say is that my particular part of presentation, so all this physics, like right from pulse to anything else, it's basically numbers. So how to make sense of these numbers, how to correlate between different whatever we require and to the numbers available, like features of the numbers. For example, pulse, we have frequency and amplitude. If you take any example like flow, it is pressure and velocity. If you see in the presentation, I think you guys have fluid mechanics, no? Am I right?
Yes, sir.
So fluid
Yes,
mechanics,
sir.
what are the variables? Pressure and velocity. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So if we can relate this pressure and velocity to some of the application, so we can develop AI out of it. Yeah. So I think AI is nothing but we need to understand how these numbers are changing and try to find a correlation. Once we get the correlation, we can develop an application over it, which Karthik is going to deal with it in the next few, 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. I think, yes.
Yeah. You can hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. What we'll do
Presenting
is
it.
after Karthik, still we can have a discussion. Let Karthik finish the presentation.
Yes.
We can have further. We can go ahead with discussion. Yes, please go ahead, Karthik.
Yeah. Actually, you know that I'm Karthik. My main work is actually in the area of computer vision. Today we will discuss here what is actually artificial intelligence and what is the difference between artificial intelligence and the machine learning and the deep learning. What are these terms, and we'll also see some applications. Also, we'll also see a problem statement. Some of the problems we can work on in the future. This thing we'll see. Let's proceed. Yeah. Let's make it an interactive section. If I will be telling all the things, yeah, it will become a one-way talk. So yes. What is artificial intelligence? It is nothing like it is human intelligence, but it is not in a natural way, but the computer or machine will we will embed in this intelligence similar to the human intelligence in a machine or a computer or any other device you think. So this artificial intelligence is a very vast subject. So it has many, uh, how the machine can learn, first of all, how the machine can learn in the same as a human, how we learn from the childhood, how we these senses like the eyes, visual information or the sense information or else the smell, anything, this sense information or any understanding of the, what you say, uh, the subject, how we learn, we'll learn, by with the experience, right? Everything will come from the experience. So in the same way, we, the machine, we will also train the machine on the in a similar ways. Artificial intelligence, actually, it is a huge part. In that, the sub part is the machine learning. Machine learning is actually nothing but some kind of learning algorithms. These are totally of number based, statistical learning algorithms. You know statistics, right? All of you, these linear algebra and the probability and these all, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So machine learning is just a sub part of this whole artificial intelligence. Yeah, some kind of learning algorithms are like a little bit focusing more on the how exactly it is linked to the nature. these machine learning algorithms are generally in a statistical sense. In that, there is one more sub part, which is deep learning. Nowadays, it is of uh, more we are using more deep learning algorithms nowadays to improve the performance. Deep learning is a sub part of machine learning. Deep learning is nothing but it is I mean, deep learning is nothing but we are how the brain actually works. I mean, it is not exactly similar, I mean exact the how the human I mean biological brain works, but it is just an intuition how the neurons fire. I mean, neural networks has, I mean, deep learning is a kind of a neural network. I mean, it has some neural network architecture. Every neural network has some neurons. This neurons is nothing but it is some, it is not exactly this neuron works same way as the biological neuron, because biological neuron has the chemical reactions as well. But here we will model that neuron in some kind of linear algebraic and I mean non-linear equation. So let's see, I mean, some of the major areas in AI. I mean, uh, these actually I have listed some here. I mean, natural language processing, speech recognition, computer vision, robotics. These all keywords I mean you learn. I mean, at least you heard of it, right? I mean, at least one or two of it. So
Yes.
yeah, these uh, natural language processing. These are general some I mean subtopics of AI. AI is nothing but whole intelligence. Natural language processing is an area where we deal with only with the text data. These these natural language processing, speech recognition, computer vision differs the way which data we deal with. I mean, in the speech, what data we deal with? It is a speech, right? And in the computer vision, what data we deal with? Anyone? Computer vision in the sense actually how the computer or machine will see the scene or a human. I mean, how the human sees. It, it will how the human understands a scene with his or her eyes. In the same way, we will knowledge in a machine. This is whole of computer vision. It is nothing but it will deal with the images or the some like 3D scenes. It will computer vision in the sense we are like it is a I mean we are dealing with the visual information. Speech is nothing but we are dealing with the speech signal, how our vocal cord works. I mean, speech recognition is nothing but speech to text. I mean, we are converting the speech to text. And the robotics in the sense we will have many kind of algorithms. It has computer vision in it, speech recognition. These are some areas. Let's see some applications. So in your phone, you have these applications, right? Apple Apple Siri, and Windows may Windows in the Windows it has a Cortana, and Google has its voice assistant. These all have ML applications. I mean, in the backend. What exactly? I mean, what these are voice assistants. I mean, it has inside. It has a speech recognition system inside. I mean, speech recognition, and also the it will generate speech recognition in the sense we are it is a speech recognition is nothing but converting a speech to text. So text so if we speak, I mean the machine should understand, it should convert into exact text to it, and with that text it will come convert into numbers, and it will have some intuition behind it. That also has a machine learning algorithm. These all you will know one by one. I'm talking about high end applications here. So but Apple Siri also it doesn't only understand, but also it these all will generate a speech. So it has also a text to speech conversion. So these are some. Now in your phone, many apps like Gmail, Google Chrome, WhatsApp, and the weather prediction. these all have AI or ML backend inside. So Gmail. So what did you notice in Gmail? I mean, what I'm talking about ML in the backend. What is? Uh, can you tell me any of the application in the Gmail? Any of you?
Spam recognition.
Yeah. If you get a mail, it will uh, detect whether it is spam or not, right? So in the same way, Google Chrome, these all have recommendation systems, and yeah, and weather prediction. How the I mean weather prediction system works sometimes. We will have the past data, but how it can predict the future data? I mean, how it can predict the 10 after 10 days, what is the weather? I mean, on this day, it is about the correlation. I mean, there is a machine learning system working in the backend, which will correlate the, I mean, correlate the previous data, and it will predict the future data. So you notice, I mean, at least in India, like you notice a long queues in the shopping malls, right? So did you recognize this? Anyone? I mean, just walk out. Anywhere did you see in the videos or YouTube videos? I mean, did you listen about Amazon Go?
Yes,
Yeah. What is it?
it is a store where we can go and get the products. We don't need to.
Yeah.
We won't be having some people who give bills and everything.
Yes, yes, yes. So here in Amazon Go, no need to stand in your line and pay the bills. These all so directly you can pick a product. There will be a sensor. There will be a sensor, and it will be automatically detect what you are picking it, and it will send a bill to your mobile, or it will automatically uh, cut the money from your bank account. So there is an ML system backend of it. So this is sometimes you don't like to call people. I mean, call people and book some appointments in the phone. So now Google actually launched this Google Duplex in few years back. I think it is in 2016. Anyone know about this Google Duplex? What it does? Anyone heard of it?
No.
Okay. Uh, Actually, Google Duplex is a kind of similar to voice assistant system, but it will call on its own. It will make phone calls on its own, and it will it has a voice assistant on its backend, and it will speak same like a human voice. How this can be replicated? We can't write a simple normal code, right? I mean, for this, if you want to speak like anyone, like the speech, we can't write simple code. This speech is a very complex signal. How can you directly hard code it? You can't do it. So there is a machine learning algorithm behind it. So exactly now I am telling there is a machine learning algorithm behind it. But what is machine learning? So generally, what is a traditional programming? As some of you know, you may have experience with the programming. I mean, you have built some websites as well. You may have been worked with some applications. I mean, you have coded it. So what is the traditional coding? What will you do there? I mean, what will you code?
With a set of rules in that language, we code to show the output we require.
Yeah, if you're coding a website or anything, I mean, you will have a set of rules and a framework, and how to do, and we'll have a final output, right? And in this is kind of front end. I mean, like website is kind of front end, like some kind of applications like general coding. What is the traditional programming does is nothing but we will we will actually why programming? It is because to make the tasks easy way. Why the calculator? First of all, simple calculator, because to make the calculation in an easy way, right? There we have an input. I mean, if we want to do simple addition, we have an input like 1 plus 2. 1 and 2 are the inputs, and we have the rules like how to add. We will code it. We'll code into the I mean, we'll code in a hard code way, like we'll have a specific rules, and we have an output, right? And something like if we want to calculate the like force exerted, I mean, like if we have a mass and the acceleration of some data, we have what is the force exerted. We have like F equals to ma, we have the formula. We will directly code it. We'll code the rule itself. So this is the traditional programming does. But what learning, anyone, I mean, I'm not telling you will have exact idea. At least do you heard or do you have any intuition? Anyone? I mean, what is machine learning?
It's not a, that
Okay.
we are setting some algorithms in machine so that it can make the work that we have experienced better than the what we have experienced till now with it.
Yeah. So machine learning is type of, if you simply say, yeah, it will learn with some experience. We will give the data as an input. I mean, we don't give any rules to it. We don't do any kind of like strict rules. We will code it. We'll just feed the data, and whatever the answers, I mean, whatever the output we need, that we'll feed that as well. But the machine learning algorithms will automatically learn the rules from the experience. And here the actually why the machine learning, so I will show some I'll give some like example. So here there is a kind of machine learning definition, like it is the field of study where the computers will learn without explicitly programmed. But it is not like we don't even program at all. We don't even write a code at all. Here, without being explicitly programmed is in the sense we are not coding any strict rules to it. I mean, you will come to know now. I mean, what I mean by strict rules. Suppose if a computer need to recognize the digits like from 0 to 9, 0, 1, 2, 3 to 9. So if it wants to recognize the handwritten digits, any person will write a number, it should recognize it, whether it is what number it is exactly. So I mean, let's say here, as we see, if it wants to recognize 4, if you want to write, if a computer needs to recognize image, I mean, what is of 4, what exactly you will do in traditional coding? What exactly you will code for it? How the 4 actually looks? Anyone? I mean, what exactly how the number 4 looks?
As we see on the screen, generally it looks like as we see on the screen.
Yeah. Here actually there is a, you can see, I mean, there is a vertical line here, and big and you can see here there is a slant line and plus a horizontal line. This you can write like in the traditional way. You can write this, whatever this length, like 1 to 2 centimeters, let it be 1 to 2 centimeters of vertical line plus an exact 45 degrees of slant line of some centimeters, let me say, and this plus 2 sets of horizontal line. Let me tell. But the humans who I mean, no one writes the number or their handwriting is looks like according to these rules. It doesn't look the same, right? They will have their different style of writing. They uh, I mean, some may write 4 in this way, and some may, actually here you can't see this image. Some may write, if you see the digits here, there are different kind of digits. Some may write I mean in this way. So there is, what I mean to say is, there are some problems. You can't you can't have some rules, or you can't formulate it. So those, there we need machine learning. Suppose you take speed, like dealing the speed signal. The speed signal is very complex, right? If you capture a speed signal, it will have a time to amplitude variation. So for each instant you will have an amplitude, I mean how much intensity of sound you produce. It is a zigzag random wave. We can't we can't tell exactly this speech wave will exactly corresponds to the word hello or some other word. So, and one more thing, no one can tell the same kind of produce the same speech pattern in their life. If you speak the word hello, I'm speaking, I'm next time if I speak the word hello, then those two signals, when you capture it and see, those won't be same. At least a minute difference, or there will be a major difference actually in the time or the amplitude variation. There will be a difference. So how can we code these kind of data? So what machine so their machine learning, deep learning, these kind of algorithms will come into picture. Here we only give them these all algorithms are nothing but the data based approaches. Data based approaches in the sense you will feed more data to it. We don't feed any rules. We'll feed here, if you want to recognize the digits, we'll feed all the number of digits by written by many number of persons. We'll capture it, and we'll feed to the machine, and we'll guide it, and we will tell how exactly it is happening. You will come to know when you are solving the problems. When you come to know, but exactly we are feeding only the data, and also what is the data. I mean this is that is kind of supervised learning. We are supervising the machine. I mean like this image corresponds to the 4. This image corresponds to 1, number 1. So this is actually I mean intuition behind machine learning, why we use it, and exactly what how we use it. Till now I mean YML and the applications, it is clear, right? So I will discuss about one problem statement, I mean we can work on. Yeah, now I mean it is clear. I mean, do you have any doubts?
Anya, it means that we have to input a large data, right?
Yeah. It is totally data. If depending upon the amount of data, the generality of the learning, I mean, will improve. If you feed a less amount of data, the model only will see only those data. It will overfit in the sense it will only the model will only recognize those kind of patterns I mean given in the training data. Training data is where we will feed the data, I mean feed data to the model to learn. There is a kind of testing data are actually, this is like if we learn a model, this model should perform in a like a real world application, right? I mean real world test data is maybe very different from the training data. Training data is what we show to the model. So how much amount, I mean large the amount of data, there is a chance that the generality will improve in the way of learning. If you show less data, it may not learn well. It will only recognize those patterns present in the data you show. So more actually, we'll discuss with one problem statement, and then we'll discuss all the doubts and anything. Yeah, actually we can work on the human pose estimation. Do you know actually what is pose estimation? Anyone? Just what is a pose? Pose.
Position,
Yeah.
analyzing position, the way of position of a human.
Yeah. Yes. Actually, it is here. I'm talking about humans itself, but pose is kind of any. It is just a orientation and the location of an object or anything. It is anything. If we tell it is a human pose estimation, here human is an object. So what we can exactly work on here in the human pose estimation, what we detect, we will here you can see, some people are sleeping, and here is a cricketer image, and yeah, here is a volleyball image. These are type of different poses. Pose is nothing but simple here. Yeah, it is nothing but locating the key points in a human. If you talk about any object, but you pose of a cuboid placed on a table, you will define with a specific corners where that location and exactly where is that location and orientation. If you want to define a 3D point, you need to have a XYZ coordinates is you can have if you exactly see how the cuboid is oriented. You will exactly define with that some key points. Like in a cuboid, you can define with where the corners have, because if we have corners and from corner to corner, the edge is a fixed rigid thing. We can directly join the corners. So in the human as well, if we can detect some like what exactly the orientation and the location of some key points, like what are the key points actually? Let's see. The key points actually, the whole pose can be estimated by using these key points, like near the head. What is the location of exactly the top of the head or the shoulder point, elbow, hand, and and the neck. And if we have these specific points, actually we should define some specific points, and we should estimate the location of that point. That is the pose estimation. If you actually tell in the computer vision, so these key points are not fixed actually. It may be from you can fix any number of key points, like you can fix 10, 20, 30, anything. So generally we will try to fix the which key points are which are corresponding to joints. Like we have a joint near the shoulder, right? Those kind of joints, if we know this key point and this key point, we can directly join the line. With the estimating the key point is nothing but we are just estimating the location, x comma y location in an image. Image is nothing but a 2D matrix, you can say. It is like a x comma y from if you have some spatial resolution, like a matrix of size 256 by 256, you'll have each point as a coordinate system and it has some pixel value. So yeah, some I can say some this pose estimation can be categorized into in many ways. Actually, these are some of the categories: 2D pose estimation and 3D pose estimation. Given an image or given an image of a human, you can estimate the key points. I mean, exactly these key points in an image. We are estimating only in an image, so we only have the x comma y coordinates. This is just a 2D matrix. But 3D pose estimation is like given an image, we should able to estimate these key points in the 3D world. Like image is kind of, when you capture an image, the depth information, we are losing it. I mean, there is one dimension. We don't know exactly how far a scene point is from the camera. That's the depth information. If you capture an image, we are losing the depth information. So 3D pose estimation is nothing but we should capture, I mean, these key points in a 3D world. Exactly, we'll have X, Y, and Z. And other way of distinction is single pose and multiple pose. Single pose is nothing but we'll estimate a pose of a single person in an image. But we'll estimate if multiple persons are there in an image, we can estimate these key points. I mean, exactly key points of each human in an image. So what are the applications of this? I mean, human pose. Yeah, we can work on this problem. Yeah, but what exactly we can do? I mean, with this is just I gave simple the problem statement, but some kind of applications are like activity recognition. Activity recognition. Suppose if you have a video, like you have a surveillance camera, you have a video. There are humans going around, so you can detect their activity, like they are walking or sitting in the chair. By just this location of the key point, we can recognize activity. You can also say detecting a thief. If the actually the walking style is different, right? I mean, if a thief will steal anything, I mean, his the way of walking style, I mean the way of his behavior will be different. These all can be recognized by this, just by estimating the key points in a video, how they are moving. And augmented reality, this is interesting application, like how these pictures, like animation picture, these characters will never exist, but how these are made. Like you will have an human, I mean, exactly whatever pose you want, you will detect a key point, where this wrist and shoulder and these all some key points located, and you'll get a pose. I mean, you'll get a pose like this. For this pose, you can generate different kind of image, different kind of character, having the same pose. So here, this is just a different kind of what character, but having pose like this. So we have the gait analysis, like how our gait analysis is nothing but how our simple to say walking style, you can say, how we walk. Gait analysis, just the movement of the it mainly defines the locomotion. I mean, how we move and these all. So everyone has a different walking style. You can estimate the by detecting, by doing gait analysis, you can say who is that person. And you can also say then he is a normal or he has any disease by just detecting the walking style. Robot training, and post transfer, in the sense, if you have an person standing in some pose, you can give some pose so that this person can, here I'm giving to the model this input as a pose, and these are the persons, I mean, it's the same person which looks in a different pose. And the last, I think I took a lot of time. So what you will be doing in any machine learning algorithm, or here in the pose estimation, or first you will do the data collection. If you want to implement from the scratch, what kind of data we needed. If you here we will be collecting the data like the human pose estimation will collect the images of the all humans, and we'll also label the data where exactly these key points are present. The head or the neck, these all key points are present. We'll label it by some software. The data pre-processing, I mean, the data these all the labeling or what you can tell. I mean, if you have the noise in the image, if you do want to, I mean, you want to do some pre-processing, do it. Main thing comes your machine learning algorithm. You will do the model training. You will show the data. You will show some data to the model, and yeah, you will have the guidance from the target. Whatever we want, you will have the input image, and you will have the guidance. Here in image, I am telling, but it may be any kind of data. So and yeah, these are the tools. I mean, to learn the like machine learning or deep learning. I mean, not only these, but these are the main tools. You can learn Python, PyTorch, TensorFlow, and machine learning algorithms and deep learning techniques to solve these kind of applications. And yeah, that's it. And if you have any doubts, discussions, yeah, I think we have some time. We can.
Yes. First of all, like I would ask, sir, I would like to ask, what we search in the Google through the image, there is an option called search through images. Is it what related to pose estimation? How we search?
No. Not pose estimation. Pose estimation is just type of simple how the pose of an specific object or human looks like. But there it is an search by image, right? It is like an image recognition. I mean, if you give a cat image or dog image, first of all, it should recognize it, whether it is a cat or dog image, right? First, it should recognize it. It is image recognition task, and then after that recognition, it will have many images in the backend. I mean, in the cloud, it will store. If you have the detection with the cat image, if you know that label, I mean, if you know what image it is, that is the image classification or recognition will tell. Then by that label or recognition, it has different kind of images in the cloud. It will project it.
Yes. And yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and thank you so much, sir. Like that, we never expected. You started from how it has a large varied applications in our day-to-day life. Like we see in the every aspect in the Gmail or in the voice or the voice search or voice assistants, and the way you started there, and the how much it has applications and how we are going to deal. So and many of our team members got that. An idea and how we can make it happen, that we will work together. This boosted a confidence.
Yes, please go ahead, Dan.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So actually what I suggest is, see, learning happens only by experience. All of you, I'm telling, this is my experience, I'm sharing with all of you guys. Learning happens with experience. Learning doesn't happen by teaching. See, if somebody teaches in the class, it only happens 20% or 10% will get it. But the actual part, 80% to 90%, you will learn by doing it. When you do it, you will learn. That's the only essence of science. So if you want to do anything, either machine learning project or any project, any sort of project in your life, you should do by yourself. You should, initially it will be a little bit troublesome. Initially it will take long time to understand, but that is what is called experience. Even though it takes, we have to put the effort to do. And whatever the supervisor or teacher, they will help you in the process of when you are trying to do. when you're climbing the mountain, it's very tough. So what a supervisor does is that he will give you a helping hand. You got no? He will give you a helping hand. That's what Karthik and I will be doing. And this will be a great project. I will be learning a lot of things, Python, all those things you'll be learning. Yeah, I think let's work together. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, go ahead. Please go ahead.
Shan sir is not here, I guess. But in the so far, we have already a great Python learning team. They started their step and made, and I think the team will be making our learning process very easier when we work together.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I request team members to raise their hands if they have doubt and if they have more thoughts or any ideas on sharing about the artificial intelligence and any nothing. Yeah, Triveni akka, please.
Like I just have a comment. It was really wonderful presentation, Ravi sir and Karthik sir. I really loved the way you explained and connected with the like physical things and explained with the examples. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you, Triveni. Thank you.
I think our team members are so much excited and so.
Yes, sir. Like as you correctly pointed out, Navier-Stokes equation and fluid flow, because we deal with books and we can implement it with AI and all, and also presentation by Karthik Anna is also good. Like application, when we read with establishing relation with the real life application, only then the actual meaning comes out what we are learning. So it can be clearly visible through our AI or whatever we learn every day. And yes, learn as we go. Like we in our ESL in our group, we follow that learn as we go. We learn through the problem and we learn through the experience. As you said, it's very important, sir. Thank you for that.
Perfect, Rohit. Perfect.
Yes, Rohit. And we are also seeing that very clearly. And artificial that you have once again refreshed and revisited from the class 10th class to and the PhD level. There are a wide variety of concepts and applications where we can deal with every one of the concepts. We can relate it to artificial intelligence and thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. I mean, maybe those who are interested in doing the project, whatever the Karthik has explained, the post detection, maybe we can find the. I mean, through Shravan, we will be in contact. Maybe I think let Shravan know. Then we will, from next week onwards, we will start slowly the work. Okay.
Yeah, and one more thing, not only post detection, if you have any other ideas as well, interesting ideas, we can guide, we can work.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, Nikhil. Do you want to-
Yes. Thank you, Ravi sir and Karthik Anna. Like I could clearly relate. Like I just got an opportunity to learn computational fluid dynamics, and the way you explained it really made us like. I spent so much time to understand that, but you clearly explained it in a simple way. That is how we will remember, right? Thank you, sir, Ravi sir, and Karthik Anna. You clearly gave us a view of what is ML, and you introduced us in a different and proper way, I guess. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Nikhil.
So yeah, I would. Okay. And yeah, I would like to present a gratitude card from our gratitude team and from all our team members. Yes, Kartikan, is it possible to stop the screen? Yes. Yes. Thank you, Anna. Sir, thank you. Sir. This is to our Karthik sir and Ravi sir. We truly express our gratitude for accepting our invitation in your busy and hectic times, and thank you for taking out your precious time for us. Top gratitude team.
Yeah, thank you for giving us the chance to interact with you guys.
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and one more thing, no need to call me as sir. You can call me as brother or Anna.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. And yes, now yes, we can conclude the session here, and we are looking eager, and we are looking forward to work with you. And this, in I feel it's privilege, and I convey our thanks from our team, whole team, for accepting our invitation and spending your valuable time with us. Yes, and thank you so much, Ravi Chaitanya sir and Karthik sir. Thank you.
Thank you.